If the Post's editors were alive today, they would no doubt defend their style of journalism thusly. There was no greater threat to German democracy in the Weimar era than Adolf Hitler. They recognized it and set out to stop him. So much of what appeared on the pages of the Post ultimately played out after Hitler came to power. In the grand scheme of things, the editors of the Munich Post got it right. It is hard not to admire the gutsiness of this little paper, which was often a lone voice, certainly one of the loudest, in defending German democracy. It invited the wrath and fury of Hitler. Dubbed the Munich Pestilence and the Poison Kitchen by the Nazis, it provoked Der Führer. It taunted him. And although the editors were adherents of a political point of view, that of anti-Hitler Social Democrats, they were also firm believers that the Weimar Republic's democratic principles were worth fighting for. The editors of the Munich Post, Martin Gruber, Edmund Goldschlag, Erhard Auer, and Julius Zerfass, were certainly not the only journalists of the Weimar Republic who deserved to be singled out for their courage as Hitler plotted paths to power. Young Munich-based journalist Konrad Hayden, who worked for the Frankfurter Zeitung, Frankfurt newspaper, was also on the front lines, critically reporting on the Nazis in the early stages of Hitler's political career. Hayden wrote a book titled A History of National Socialism in 1932, and fled into exile after Hitler came to power a year later, eventually ending up in the United States. In 1944, Hayden used his deep knowledge of the Nazi Party to publish Der Führer, a scathing biography of Hitler. Another Munich-based journalist, Fritz Gerlich, made the ultimate sacrifice in his pursuit of Hitler. Editor of the newspaper Der Gerade Weg, The Straight Path, Gerlich was one of Hitler's fiercest critics. He was arrested after Hitler came to power and murdered in the Dachau concentration camp outside Munich. A year before Hitler's rise to power, Karl von Ossietzky, editor of a left-wing magazine in Berlin and a staunch opponent of militarism, was sent to prison for exposing secret and illegal plans for German rearmament. Granted amnesty after 7 months, he immediately resumed his work, focusing his articles on the Nazi threat to the Weimar Republic. Shortly after Hitler became chancellor, Ossietzky was arrested again and sent to a concentration camp where he endured 3 years of hard labor and beatings. He was transferred to a prison hospital in Berlin in 1936. That year, Ossietzky was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, but was barred from traveling to Norway to receive it. Seriously ill, he died in 1938. It's worth noting the front-page headline that the Munich Post's editors published a few days before stormtroopers ransacked and shut down its offices in March 1933. Whatever the Munich Post's faults, that headline should be the rallying cry of journalists around the globe whose work is threatened by those who place the accumulation and wielding of authoritarian power above the defense of citizens' rights. The headline's defiant assertion: we will not be intimidated. Chapter 1: The Corpse in Hitler's Apartment. Martin Gruber wiped his jowly face with a serviette after dining at a Munich restaurant and placed cash on the table. Wrapping himself in his big winter overcoat and donning his Homburg hat, the Munich Post editor walked to the streetcar station. He was tired, having put in long hours at the newspaper on this Thursday in 1931. As the streetcar rattled through the lonely night, the 65-year-old with thinning dark hair buried his nose in a newspaper until the streetcar approached Sendlinger Kirche station just a short distance from his apartment. Stepping off, he glimpsed movement out of the corner of his eye. In an instant, 2 young men jumped him, sending him sprawling to the ground. They pummeled his head with brass knuckles, smashing his glasses. Blood streamed down Gruber's face. The 2 strapping young men fled into the night. "Hilfe!" Gruber shouted. A man riding by on a bicycle heard the elderly man's plea for help. "My glasses, they are in pieces," Gruber said to the man.